I'm a two-time Trump voter.
In 2024, I cannot support Donald Trump.
Trump is 100%
responsible for January 6th.
His treatment of women is just disgusting.
Trump called servicemen suckers and losers.
If Trump has a second term,
it will be much worse than the first.
Kamala Harris is a prosecutor.
He's a convicted felon.
In 2024,
I will be
proudly voting for Kamala Harris.
Republican Accountability PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Starting today, that message will be broadcast to voters in Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin and Arizona and Nebraska. There are also these billboards, which will blanket those key swing states as part of an $11.5 million ad blitz funded by the political action group Republican Voters Against Trump. Joining me now is the founder and executive director of Republican Voters Against Trump, as well as the publisher of The Bulwark, Sarah Longwell. Sarah, it is great to see you. I am so eager to hear more about the project. And really specifically, because you know better than most people, who exactly is the sort of target audience here? Is this the vestige of the Nikki Haley coalition? Can you give me like a profile of the kind of voter you guys are going for?
Yeah, so on one level, it is the vestige of the Nikki Haley voter. The fact is some of those voters were already Biden voters last time. Some of them were going to go home to Trump. And then there's kind of that group that prior to Joe Biden dropping out, we were calling the double haters. And these people, they really do hate Donald Trump, but they thought Joe Biden was too old. And the thing about these voters is they're kind of right-leaning independents and soft GOP voters. They don't identify as Democrats. And that's the tough part. That's where you've got to build a permission structure for people like this who just do not see the Dems as their natural tribe to say, you know what? I am so tired of Donald Trump. I'm so over the lies about the election. January 6th was a red line for me. Abortion is now a primary issue for me. Any sort of combination of those things can drive that voter to say, this time I'm out on Trump. But one of the things we did with this campaign was we specifically went and found hundreds and hundreds of people who had voted for Trump. Everybody who was part of our campaign voted for Trump at least once. Many of them have done it twice. And I think it's important for people to understand that these voters, there are a lot of people who kind of held their nose and voted for Donald Trump for whatever reason, but they weren't wild about him. And January 6th was really the thing that pushed them over the edge. And the fact that the Republican Party decided that they're going to go again with Donald Trump. There's just a lot of these voters that say, this is too much. And then once you gave them somebody sort of new, like Kamala Harris, they basically were like, you know what? I'm in. I'm in for the optimism. I'm done with the doom and gloom. And they were ready to come out and be advocates. And those people can create the best kind of permission structure for other people who are on the fence, who are kind of looking for a reason to vote against Donald Trump. They're not that comfortable voting for Democrats, but when they see people from their own tribe, people who made the same decisions they have in the past, who voted for Donald Trump, say, you know what, I can do it with Harris, I can go ahead, I can vote for her. That's the kind of thing that helps people sort of make that move.
Can we talk a little bit about the strategy behind the campaign itself? I mean, I know you guys are going up with these billboards, at least in major metro areas in key swing states, Pittsburgh, Harrisburg, and Philadelphia and Pennsylvania, Grand Rapids and Detroit in Michigan, Madison and Milwaukee in Wisconsin, as well as Phoenix and Omaha for Nebraska's 2nd congressional district. And my Lord, do we hope this election does not come down to that one electoral vote. You said that these are folks who don't feel like they're part of the Democratic tribe. But when I think about all of those metropolitan areas, I sort of think of them as Democratic strongholds. Can you talk to me a little bit about how, I mean, sort of, are these people that are just reluctantly hanging out in blue areas of these swing states?
No, this is a great question, actually. So in most of these are what are called DMAs, right? These are the places where you advertise, and that's what. How do I explain this to you? So yes, it's the name of the cities, but where we are concentrated in our advertising is really in those suburban areas that ring those cities, because that is where these persuadable voters are. You're talking about Bucks County, Pennsylvania. You're talking about Cumberland County. But in order to reach those voters, you often have to go into the DMA that is the biggest city in that area. And so our focus is not to hit those those blue voters that are concentrated in the metropolitan areas, but really in the rings around there. And we're doing what's called a surround sound campaign. And so not only are we up on television, but we're very narrowly targeted with digital, with something called CTV, which is on your Hulu and other places where you stream. We're on radio. And so we really are trying to hit people with a lot of different voices, but all of whom are sort of a lot of these college-educated suburban voters who have been the persuadable voters that have made up the margins in the last couple key elections.
I gotta ask, because Chris Hayes was talking about this, and rightly so, in the last hour, and I've been thinking about this a lot. I know Nate Silver's been thinking about it a lot. Pennsylvania. It seems like this is as it was in 2020, Pennsylvania has 19 electoral college votes. It's a big deal. Everybody wants to win it. And by everybody, I mean Kamala Harris, Donald Trump. How much work do you think needs to be done in that state on the part of Democrats? I'm noticing you are going up with these billboards in 3 cities in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Pennsylvania really is the tipping point state. I was originally kind of a big advocate for choosing Governor Josh Shapiro as the VP candidate, because I thought in such a utilitarian way, it is so important to lock up Pennsylvania. I don't think Tim Walz was a bad choice. There's just nothing more important than Pennsylvania. And I think you can see in terms of Trump spending and in terms of Harris's spending, that's what everybody's battling over. And it is a state that has a lot of these urban areas that then do have these suburban rings around them. And a lot of those suburban rings are the kinds of places that have moved from red to blue over the last decade that Donald Trump has been on the scene. Like, that is where the voters are moving. They are politically realigning out of the Republican Party and are becoming more willing to vote for Democrats. These are people where previously they would vote for John McCain and Mitt Romney. But Donald Trump has been pushing them out of the party. But it also has a lot of these rural areas, which is where I grew up in central Pennsylvania, where Donald Trump dominates with voters. And this is why it is so important. I think you got to get Tim Walz to these rural areas. You got to have him talking directly to voters. But yeah, Pennsylvania's the ballgame. We're going to spend a ton of money there, but so is everybody else.
Yeah, to say the least. Sarah Longwell, a wealth of information, founder of Republican Voters Against Trump, of course, publisher of The Bulwark and all its must-listen-to podcasts. Thanks for your time, Sarah. Really, really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.